What is up, y'all? 07's in the chat. 07's for the thumbnail. What is up? We got 6 people tuning in for this episode of The Barracks, which is your resident non-Euclidean intelligence network, brought to you on every single streaming platform. You just don't know it yet. If you don't see us on Kick or Twitch or Telegram or any of these other sites, we're there. We're spreading our little spider web across the internet. That Milkman just dipped right now because he remembered he needed to go and set up a new network onto that weird Russian social media network that we don't have a presence on yet. So share this fucking stream. What is up, y'all? Yes,
ladies and gentlemen,
Cascadian Anarch.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are having a wonderful night here at the Barracks, and I hope everyone as well over on the other side of the stream is doing well.
Yes, Vikontakte. That's the name of the social media Russian website we are going to have a presence on. Milkman has just popped in, so I'm sure he just gave a vicious thrashing to whoever has not yet set up that stream on Vikontakte. Exactly. We're already learning Russian. We're already learning Russian in preparation. But enough of the formalities. Y'all know who we are already at this point. To my left, we got the people's ginger aspiring warlord. You know him, you love him. He's the Yankee Tanky.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring you the information you need here at the Barracks today and forever.
And below me is leader of the biggest, baddest intelligence agency, the people's deep state that history has ever known. He is your friendly neighborhood Milkman. How you doing, Milk?
I'm doing all right. We got some anti-lactose discrimination on X going on, though. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, it ties into so many things, doesn't it? Just with all these, you open up X, you open up any whatever news site du jour you're reading. There's always some new violent event going on. There's always some new natural disaster that's affecting thousands of people. And with these new Twitter policies, which we will go into detail more about in a second, just talking about this shit going on in front of our eyes and ears is illegal now.
Yeah, it was too good to be true. Elon buying Twitter and making it free speech. It was too good to be true. There's no way they're going to let that happen. But
yeah. I already knew the day that Elon Musk allowed me to get mass reported on my account after getting it back, the first Yankee Tanky Twitter account, that I knew that Elon Musk's so-called X, so-called Twitter free platform was a fallacy, a lie.
Yeah, I mean, when he hired that WEF woman, that was a big red flag. And when he didn't let Alex Jones back. I mean, Alex Jones has always been the canary in the coal mine for this stuff. He was the first one to get banned on Twitter back in the day. And that was, at the time, it was like a big controversy. And now when people get banned, it's just like, oh, somebody else got banned. That's just how it is.
Yeah, the one benefit of someone like Elon Musk is that he is ostensibly, at least, against this whole agenda of depopulation. Like, he understands and posts about it sometimes, that depopulation is the biggest catastrophe that could ever befall mankind. That would be akin to like a historical extinction. Like, we would stop having written history, let alone industry.
Yeah.
So but meeting that bare minimum, having a soul basically is where he stops in terms of similarities of politics. But yeah, it's just as a palate cleanser for you all today. This kind of mentality that all of these billionaires who are buying up social media, who are buying up newspapers like what's his name? Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post. All of these people who have a very different set of values that you and I have. Even though we're starting to understand the limits of like a bourgeois democracy, we still understand that those institutions were, at least on their face, built for us, the American people. This article dropped today. Let me know if you can see it. Nope, that's not it.
Oh, here we are.
Streaming a stream.
Streamception. We are entering the matrix of streaming.
Let's see. Yeah, it's. I have to go. I have to go back on the dark web here. Yeah, y'all were asking me what Tor is. The Onion router, which is the operation system you need to. It's an app really that you need to browse the dark web. Someone just like has made the New York Times available to read for free on Tor, which is why I have it on my computer.
Yeah,
So
our friends
it's
used to
useful.
use it to buy drugs, but that was
Yeah,
back in the day.
I only use it for the New York Times. I'm boring. Like
Thank God you're boring, Teray. I don't know if we could handle you on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the friends I made on Silk Road turned out to be Taiwanese spies who were just playing the long con. And I'm tired of being catfished. So I'm just sticking to the New York Times for now. This article was published today as a little palate cleanser. It's brought to you by Adam Grant, who is a New York Times bestselling like self-help guru who sells like how to get self-help to be like a business person for the 21st century. Like how to rethink in order to be the best you that can make money. That whole grift. Whatever the liberal version of the red pill is. He says that the worst people run for office. It's time for a better way. That was not the original title of this article. If you go back onto the Wayback Machine, the original title from this morning, before they A/B tested it, was "Elections Are Bad for Democracy."
I can't believe they changed it.
They do this all the time. If you go through news articles enough, and you see like ones that make you go, and you have to do it early. You have to wake up at 6 a.m, browse, and you'll notice that New York Times, Washington, they all do this. You'll see an article that makes you go, "Boo!" And it's because people in the White House and people in the FBI and people in legacy media, they all get up at 6 a.m. and they're reading through the newspapers right on the cab ride to work. And so like they're reading this stuff. They're reading a different headline than we are. We get the 12 o'clock headline, like the milquetoast, worst people run for office. It's time for a better way. They all get the cool headline of elections are bad for democracy.
You know what's bad for democracy? Democracy.
It's too bad because that's a very telling headline.
You can go on Twitter. You can go on Twitter, and they took a snapshot of the original headline. You can go on the Wayback Machine, like just to verify for yourself. But yeah, they do this all the time, and you'll get I'll just get to the funny bit. I won't read through this whole thing. Just now, Adam Grant is one of those like liberal grifters. But so you think that this would be like an ironic title, like elections are bad for democracy because it's the New York Times, and they would have some like smarmy twist at the end. It's like, democracy was inside us the whole time. No, he's serious. It says, on the eve of the first debate of the 2024 presidential race, trust in government is rivaling historic lows. Officials have been working hard to safeguard elections and assure citizens of their integrity. Lol. But if we want public office to have integrity, we might be better off eliminating elections altogether. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater is good, actually.
I just want to say that elections are safe and effective.
Yeah, elections are safe and effective, and we should
don't worry,
still get
YouTube.
rid of them. And it's okay. It's okay.
Elections are not
elections.
rigged. They haven't been rigged for decades.
You know what I like to say, just like I say with you know, I just like I say, you know, I get one every day. I go and vote every single day. You know, every single day I go vote in an election.
You gotta let me get to what. So election, we're throwing them out. It's you know, there's a thought experiment, guys. What if we crazy thought? What if we just threw out elections? Oh, and then it's the replacement is very funny. So he goes to continue. If you think that sounds anti-democratic, think again. The ancient Greeks invented democracy. Actually, ancient Greeks invented democracy, and in Athens, many government officials were selected through sortition, a random lottery from a pool of candidates. In the United States, we already use a version of a lottery to select jurors. What if we did the same thing with mayors, governors, legislatures, justices, and even presidents?
Yo, this guy's spitting. Wait, this guy's spitting. I think we should have a random lottery for the president. Just pick a random person. I
thought it was gonna pivot away from this. It was like, so ironic, right? And then just talking about how, no, we're not really gonna get rid of elections. No, the rest of the article is just like, we're really going to get a kick out of random lottery elections. You remember that time you read Shirley Jackson's The Lottery in high school? But good, actually.
Well, the problem with it would be the same problem with the regular lottery, which is that it would just be rigged.
Right.
Because when they like, I love that headline, elections are bad for democracy, because there's no way you can make it more clear that when they say democracy, they don't mean like the popular conception of democracy, which is like people vote for their leader. They just mean we're in charge. That's what democracy means. That's the only definition that's consistent for all these, you know, journalists, tongues for hire, and for all these think tank people and politicians. When they say democracy, they mean we're in charge. We have to restore democracy to Niger. We need to get our guy so that we can be in charge. Putin is anti-democratic. He's not our guy. We're not in charge. That's all it means.
I have good news for the Gribble Report. We already have fascism.
Yeah,
yeah. Green fascism is well underway since at least the turn of the century. Like these degrowth policies, where we're just going to eat bugs and we're going to live in chicken coops.
You will live in the pod. You will eat the bugs.
Yeah, 9/11 was our Reichstag fire.
Yeah, it's all already underway. Yeah, the reason they feel bold enough to publish articles on the New York Times, like the premier legacy newspaper, like on the internet, they bold enough to print like as an opinion piece. Elections are bad for democracy is because they're already like making moves behind the scenes to take away the institutions that have the veneer of freedom, the veneer of power for the population at large.
I mean, if this was serious and they actually it was actually an option to just pick a random person to be president, I'd be for that because I just want the chaos. Just give me the chaos, baby. Put in
right,
some
that would be that would be
homeless president.
What if the
like
lottery hits?
President.
What if the lottery hits and somehow the Yankee Tanky became presidents?
There you go.
Once they implement that, when
democracy wins.
Out of 300 million people in America, randomly, out of 300 million people in America, I was like, who would have guessed that it was going to be Meghan Markle?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that crazy? You guys, isn't that crazy? I did a spit take of my coffee.
What
random.
A coincidence.
You know who that's written for? It's written for the totes random millennials who are just like who like whimsy.
Yeah, like the XD Penguin of Doom millennials. Well, that's me, dude. That's what I want. Give me the random Give me the like random banana president. I'll take it over fucking what we got. It couldn't be worse, dude. We got a fucking dementia patient. It couldn't be worse. Give me the
Yeah,
crackhead president.
Yeah, we have an
Let's see.
actual.
Let's see just how far we can fall. Give me the crackhead president.
Yeah, and it's all
We'll open a department of crack procurement.
all this to say that what we're talking in the main about today is about the new, or I should say, revised Twitter policies, the Twitter X policies that were brought to light after a Twitter account was banned for allegedly denying the Holocaust. The Twitter account, the main X account, posted that they have changed their terms of service to include acts of abuse as including denying, quote, violent events. And I'm not going to pull it up on my screen. You have Google it. It's like right there.
So you better not deny what happened to the Uyghurs.
And this is why we chose this as the headliner for this video, is because it literally, just pick your psyop and it applies to how that's going to affect all of us moving forward. Just being able to talk about what's going on in the news, it's going to be used to shut us down in a way that we saw in 2020, in a way that we saw for the past 7 years since the censorship regime has been attacking all of the people whose consciousness has been raised on websites like Twitter, where we can talk to people from around the world, confirm facts in real time, counter leading narratives from legacy media like the New York Times, which turned out to be false later on, or which we knew were false as soon as they were printed. This has consequences now, not just for denying the Holocaust. This has consequences for the fact that the deadliest fire in U.S. history happened in Lahaina a week ago. And people going on Twitter to talk about the suspicious circumstances surrounding that tragedy, they are now under threat of having their accounts banned because they would fall under this new definition of abuse. Questioning the popular narrative, the government's narrative, is now abuse, according to the Twitter terms of service. So we need to unpack that, the consequences of that. What do y'all have to say about it?
Well, the first thing I would be most concerned about would be our channel with the barracks and everything, right? What have we talked about? The EFF and what's going on in South Africa and that song and, supposedly this white genocide that's going on that I guess I now have to say is totally going on, guys. Because what choice do we have if, we're going to get kicked off of this platform? Oh, and we just lost Milk. See what happens? This is what happens, guys. We're having Milk getting dropped off our freaking YouTube channel. We're going to get censored on the barracks, all because we dared to say that the EFF was correct to say the Boers.
The white genocide never happened, and it was justified. And it's going to happen again. Never happened, but it was totally justified.
Sorry, I'm having some technical problems. I'm in the Wi-Fi-less wasteland until Saturday.
This is the consequences of the Shadow War.
Yeah, but it's what is even the argument for this? They aren't making one. They're just quietly changing the rules. Because first it was, okay, you can't incite violence, which is all right, fire in a crowded theater. That's old news. Fine. Then it was you can't be racist and you say racial slurs and be a bigot, which is yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go hard for people's right to say the N-word, fine. But now it's
do it.
You can't deny a violent event, which of course means you can't question it's just the false flag clause, right? And what's even the nominal justification for this? It's it's just total matriarchal tyranny is what it is. It's how dare you how dare you sully the names of the victims? They're throwing babies out of incubators, little babies, and you're just destroying these little babies. It's like, I mean, they do this shit like every year. There's a new fake atrocity every year, and now we're not allowed to question it. It's so blatant what's going on. The most recent example, I guess, would be Bucha, which is Scott Ritter got banned for saying Ukraine did Bucha, which is not denying a violent event, it's just questioning the mainstream narrative. So this is, and then there was Alex Jones with Sandy Hook. It's just
That's the big one. That's
yeah,
the one
that was
that's
a
the one that
very
has
significant
actual
trial.
monetary and legal
very,
consequences.
very significant trial because that pretty much just criminalized questioning government narratives. And well, I guess we can't talk about like what was perhaps suspicious about the Sandy Hook official narrative, but they do this
Not
shit all
that
the time.
anything
It's
was
PSYOP
suspicious about it
central.
at all.
This is the one thing our government's really good at is running PSYOPs. I mean, so you can't question 9/11. Now fucking Vivek is getting his ass dragged by that bargain bin crystal ball on CNN. Like, oh, how dare you? How dare you question this ridiculous fucking narrative that we put forward for 22 goddamn years? And he's barely even doing it. He's being a pussy about it. But he's just saying, like, oh, well, I think they might have lied, maybe. Like, all the lies we know they told.
And even that will be enough to put his momentum that he's gained in this part of the election that we're in on hold. Like,
well, is he going to get his account banned? Is his account going to get banned for that?
They could threaten him with that. They could throttle it. They could and because a significant amount of his momentum, his popularity has come from Twitter. Like, he's run a very successful social media campaign as well as just a television campaign. That would he like just threatening him with that, he would whatever like, you know, whatever scripted countercultural vibe he's giving off, just like, yeah, I'm gonna go after the FDA, man. You know, it's about time that the oil barons stop being rich and me and my pharma buddies have got rich. I'm dragging all my buddies with me from the pharmaceutical scam companies that we created. We're all gonna get rich together, man. It's enough to say, like, oh yeah, stop that, whatever you're doing, just and follow the DNC. The Uniparty, the Uniparty can't even entertain the idea of like a cool rebel anymore. They're all just the same weird, sleepy serial killer that Joe Biden is.
It's not even the DNC though, because like, make no mistake, everybody who's like in the know knows that 9/11 was a fraud. It's not a secret, and they think you're so goddamn stupid that you can't figure it out on your own because it's fucking obvious. Just look into it for 30 minutes.
Well, now we know.
Realize how goddamn ridiculous this official narrative is. And
well, now we know that. I mean, Oliver Anthony had like those truther videos in his watch history, and even having the wrong watch history will be used again. Your job could be taken away from you because you watched a 9/11 truther video, which is nuts. By the way.
Yeah,
we're all going to lose our jobs.
22 years later, and they still are clinging to this narrative with like white clawed fists. It's just ridiculous.
Look at it this way, Milk. They're still clinging on to the JFK assassination narrative, right? I mean,
officially, yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how long it is. You know, I'm sure that we could dig up something from 100 or so more years ago of something our government was involved with, and I'm sure that there's lies that they have to keep a narrative with that too,
like
right?
The sinking of the Maine.
That was the first one. Remember the Maine.
The invention.
Remember the Maine was the first PSYOP.
This actually ties into our next point because it's like, imagine if at the JFK assassination everyone had a cell phone and everyone had been recording it, and they had still tried to tell you there was just one shooter. And then you don't have to imagine because the Las Vegas shooting happened in 2017. And this fucking guy gets up during a press conference and says with a straight face there was only one shooter, when there are hours upon hours of footage. You can just go look it up. It's clear as day. There was not just one shooter. And this guy was made police chief in Maui right before these fires happened. The same guy who covered up this Las Vegas shooting. And this is the kind of thing that if you talk about this, well, are you denying a violent event? I don't know. It's kind of ambiguous, but like clearly this is what the policy's meant for. You're not allowed to question all these psyops.
Yeah, and yeah, you made a good point, which we'll expand on. But this is the tweet that's many are sharing tweets that are similar to this because this came out today. But tweets like this are at least a week old. If you go back and search Las Vegas shooting on Twitter, people from back on 6 days ago were posting stuff pointing out that the police chief in Lahaina, who recently transferred there, was I'll just read the tweet here. The same police chief who was the incident commander for the Las Vegas shooting back in 2017, who was just put on as police chief of Maui before the disaster, is also the coroner for the area. So people were pointing out. People were pointing out.
Watch the video.
Yeah, and it's only 15 seconds long.
I got to tell you, I met with them. I'm also the coroner, for those who don't know that.
He's the coroner too. There's a lot of coincidences happening.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like all these like TikToks I've been seeing of people saying well, I don't know if this woman is, but a lot of them I've been seeing of people saying this is really suspicious. This seems deliberate. Were people in Maui, people on the ground just reporting what they were seeing. So is that banned now? Are you not allowed to get on the ground reporting because it contradicts the official narrative?
Yeah, apparently there were
who knows?
Apparently there were books recently published about the Maui fires, which is nuts.
Oh yeah,
the comments in this videos are nuts, by the way.
Well, that's like what's his face out in Ukraine. The guy that was arrested and then mysteriously released, and then he was going to try to cross the Ukrainian-Hungarian border or whatever. That dude, I wish I could remember his name. I believe he's both a U.S. citizen and a citizen of, I want to say it's Chile.
Gonzalo Lira?
Yeah, Gonzalo Lira, right? I mean, he was arrested and brutalized while in prison, as he admitted, just because, he was reporting the facts on the ground in Ukraine, right? That's against the law now. It's now against the law to report the news on the grounds that contradicts the narrative that the state wants to push.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you'll get fined $10 trillion or whatever Alex Jones got fined by that matriarchal judge.
Yeah, you did make a point that it's this matriarchal dictatorship that we live under. Specifically that the assumption that just because you feel hearing some information makes you feel a certain way, that the intensity of that emotion makes it true.
Mm-hmm.
That you heard a particularly sad story told to you, and just because of your gut reaction to it, all of the things that you imagine, before you can verify for yourself, the emotion of it makes it empirically true. You didn't see anything with your eyes or ears, but you were told it to you, and you imagined all of the details, and you filled it in with your imagination, or you let someone else fill it in for you. You didn't even do so much as imagine the details yourself. You had someone else give you all the details, and you made you feel a certain way, and now it's true. The Uyghurs in Xinjiang, of course they're having their fingernails pulled off. Of course they're having to scrub the president's toilet with their toothbrush. Of course, all these things are happening to the Uyghurs because I felt so bad for them.
Yeah, it's always anecdotes. It's always just the most horrible anecdotes. Babies out of incubators, gassing his own people, and then that just gets repeated or they trot out some dissident that they're paying to go cry on CNN. There was one from Syria that was like an 8-year-old girl that they were like trotting out on CNN and MSNBC to like beg for intervention in Syria. And then it turned out she like didn't even speak English. Like she was on one show in Turkey and they asked her, what's your favorite food? And she was like, we have to protect the Syrian children. Like she didn't even understand the question. And then somebody whispered in her ear and she was like, oh, fish. And this little bitch got a book deal too. She got a fucking book deal, like a 300-page book. Yeah, she really wrote that goddamn book about how we have to go intervene in Syria. But people buy this shit. You get some little kid with a hand up her ass, and fingers working her mouth to say whatever horrible, awful things you could possibly imagine.
Meanwhile,
that's all you need. It's just it's like a feminine. It's exploiting like people's feminine instinct of emotion overriding rationality. You spin the most horrible, wretched narrative about what's going on in a foreign country, and people just think, well, we have to do something. And it's always children too. I mean, it's
if it's not children,
or little kids, and we got to protect the children. And anyway, that's why we should repeal the 19th.
Well, I mean, if it's not children, it's people that are practically psychologically children, right? Look at Yomni Park from the DPRK, the woman who supposedly escaped, and she's on Joe Rogan telling the old spiel. Oh, we had to get out of the train, and we'd have to push the train. Like that's the kind of ridiculous shit that. Wow. That this is the narrative, right? It's we have to go out and push the train. We gotta do all this ridiculous shit, or all these ridiculous things happen.
The rats eat the children, and the children eat the rats, and then the children die and get eaten by the rats. And Joe Rogan's credulous ass is just sitting there like, no way. Wow. That's unbelievable. It's like, yeah, Joe, it is unbelievable. Get your shit together.
Like, stop taking the DMT. And realize that
there was one
your host is bullshitting
you. There was one T that was influencing him right there, though. It's probably tax dollars that paid for those, by the way.
Meanwhile, the people who are actually doing investigative work to figure out what's going on, even if only to confirm the details that are being told to us by the government. Like people looking into these things, investigative journalists are being murdered or jailed. Like in the case of the Las Vegas shooting, the main investigative journalist looking into the details of Stephen Paddock's life. His name is Jeffrey German. Was murdered in front of his house by a Las Vegas politician. Like a Las Vegas politician murdered the investigative journalist who was looking into Stephen Paddock.
Go figure.
No mainstream media coverage.
Yeah, it's also like they love pushing these like anti-gun narratives. They love talking about Sandy Hook. They love talking about Columbine and whatever, but they never talk about Las Vegas. Biggest mass shooting in American history, and all these anti-gun ideologues just never talk about that one. Just leave it alone. Because it was maybe the most blatant cover-up in American history. And I know that
until Lahaina. Until the worst fire in American history, where hundreds of people, maybe more, because the real numbers just aren't known, or they are known and just aren't reported. Like the police chief in both scenarios, it's the same guy. The worst shooting in American history and the worst fire. Same guy. The same guy who's giving the press release to the cameras in a very tightly controlled media environment is the same freaking guy. And the last time an investigative journalist was looking into the details for himself was murdered by a politician in the city he was living in.
Can you pull that up? That's so crazy.
I'll
you got the resident schizo, the milkman, saying that's crazy.
I heard that from you today. I hadn't heard that before. I mean, this whole thing got completely memory hold, and then the cover up didn't get reported on at all, which it was a really explicit cover up. I mean, there were people on the ground saying there was a helicopter strafing people. And then the official narrative was it was just this one guy who lugged like a metric fuck ton of weapons up to the whatever floor of Mandalay Bay, broke the window with like a crowbar or whatever, and was just like, sniping people in the head by himself, like 100 people or however many. I mean, it's absurd. It's as absurd as any of the mainstream narratives that people believe because they don't actually know what they are. Like the JFK narrative with the magic bullet, like the 9/11 narrative with Building 7 collapsing due to fire, the first skyscraper ever and last to collapse due to fire. And
So,
people just don't look into it. And now they're
because looking into it,
illegal.
you will die if like the documentarian who was making a film about Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Like he was just wrapping up production on that documentary, but he wasn't living in his house for a few months, and his house was swatted. So this journalist who never charged him with any crime, nothing. The SWAT team just showed up at his house, broke in, guns blazing, and it turns out he hadn't been living there for the past few months, which I don't blame him. Like when you report on this stuff, people come for you.
Yeah.
So this is the guy. This is the guy who was murdered, Jeff German, one of the lead investigative journalist in the Las Vegas shooting, and this is Robert Tejas, the Las Vegas administrator who murdered him in front of his own house. And if you read I would have to dig. They had a whole expose on this guy, Robert Tejas, but he's a gangster, like he's an actual like mafioso. And he just straight up murdered an investigative journalist who was looking into...
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Is this IQ?
Well, hold up. This is the IQ!
This is the IQ.
Is it? Is Robert Tejas Indian?
No, yeah, is he Italian?
Oh, he's Italian. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I was telling you, the mafia has as much power as Mossad.
No, I think he's Mexican. I think he's Hispanic.
Well, the mob does run Las Vegas. I mean, it's Sin City.
And the cartel is increasingly running the United States government. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get my house swatted again.
Again? I think I'm ready to get my house squatted.
So the reporter was found dead with multiple stab wounds outside his home on September 2nd of last year. DNA found underneath German's fingernails and surveillance footage helped police link Tejas to the killing, authorities have said. Fucking administrator of the city. Like,
this just happened last year?
Last year.
Las Vegas probably needs to be nuked, right? Like, there's no salvaging this place.
I mean, yeah. When Fidel and the Cuban revolutionaries took over Cuba, Cuba was the hotbed of cocaine, gambling, and prostitution. All the cocaine and prostitution and gambling went to Las Vegas and Miami. It's just like,
yeah.
All the cocaine went to Miami. All the gambling and prostitution went to Las Vegas. And both of those cities need to go away.
The whole state of Nevada basically has legalized prostitution, so I think we should just make the state of Nevada illegal.
Yeah, no more Nevada. So that's just. I mean, just being talking about that as a regular person, like you have consequences now, where you could have your whole like Twitter account shut down. You won't be able to interact with people online, and there's people in Lahaina, like you were saying, there's people in Lahaina who just have to talk about it to coordinate their lives in a way that the government is not doing. I have an article pulled up here from the Washington Post. It dropped at earlier today, talking about how schools in Maui are struggling to reopen. which if you remember, schools closing down after a certain event and then not opening, like that's a huge impact on a local community, because if your schools are shut down and your kids have nowhere to go for 8 hours out of the day, that affects your ability as a parent to go to work. Like that. So now not only are people in Maui unable to, or like many of them in Lahaina, unable to go back to their homes, but just all over the island, people can't get their kids into school now that school has officially started, because the government has said they're worried about toxic plumes started by the fires that could affect air quality and water quality, and who knows when the schools will open now. So this is a fully coordinated anarchy imposed on Maui in ways that we've seen before.
Well, where are these people living right now? Like, if they're worried about air quality, aren't half of these people homeless right now? Where are they sleeping? They already are in the air.
Which, yeah, it just goes to show that all of these policies being inflicted on the people of Maui, that has nothing to do with their well-being. You just give them $700, which really, I'm pretty sure that the government only gave them $700 to stimulate any of the to stimulate like the real estate, to keep like real estate going in like in the area for a bit, not to actually like help them. I think it was just to like with the $2 trillion that were printed and pumped into the economy, to drive up inflation. I think that all those thousands of people were just given $700 just to keep like local real estate afloat for whatever businesses they were spending it on, for like food and shelter, and also just to flood the local economy with more dollars. Who knows? But I'm not an economist, but
I mean, I could tell you $700 isn't going to get you real far when you have nowhere to sleep, you have no means in which to cook food, you have no ability to, be able to shelter yourself really to any capacity. $700, especially in the state of Hawaii. I mean, what? That's 5 days, 6 days in a
yeah, it's
freaking
not even a
hotel?
week. Having been in that situation myself, of having no house to sleep in and having slept on the sidewalk for a night, realizing this sucks, and trying to get, and like, other than staying in someone's garage, which I ended up doing, having to stay in like an actual rented room or a hotel costs hundreds of dollars, like, per week. Like rent alone, if you find like somewhere, I found like this, roach infested room that was shared with 2 or 3 other people. And that didn't, because you don't have anything, you have to also buy, utensils for cooking, food. You have to buy a lot of stuff for your bathroom needs. You have to buy a new set of clothes. You need to transport yourself if you don't have a car. A bed. You need, like, it's just to, if you lose everything in a fire, $700. If you find like a place to stay, isn't even going to cover the cost of the things you need to live, to replace when you just go into the grocery store that week. Like, it's nuts.
It's almost more insulting than if they just let people be homeless. Like, at least in that case, it would be like, yeah, we're your enemies. It's a fight to the death. But here it's like someone comes in and like burns, like Kaiser Sose comes in and burns your house down. And then on the way out, he like flips you a silver dollar. It's like a calling card. It's like insulting. The same thing happened during COVID. It's like when you get fucked hard enough, they just toss you a couple bucks and think that's enough for you to just roll over and take it and shut up and not speak out and say anything. And it's insulting. It's disgusting. I mean, these people know what happened to them. I'm not going to get too conspiratorial, but like, yeah, it was not. What are they trying? What's the official narrative? It's like a hurricane in the south and then winds in the north, and it's actually because of industry and because we're using gasoline. That's why it happened. Yeah, well, I don't really buy that, but I mean, cui bono? That's what you should always ask in these situations. Who benefits from what's going on in Maui? Because the people in Lahaina didn't want to sell their property, which was like well, those could be billionaires' fifth homes that they pay a shitload of money for. So who benefits? And now BlackRock's swooping in and trying to buy all this property up that was previously unbuyable.
Yeah, not to develop it at all, just to leave it fallow for a couple of decades and let the.
Well, I mean,
Oh, they'll
to
probably
talk
put like
about,
Four Seasons there,
to
and
talk
like
about,
maybe a cruise line dock or something.
to talk about what I talked with Voidburn on his stream over on kick.com/Voidburn. We were talking about how, a year prior to this fire, there was a particular plan done with the local government and a bunch of different corporations to set up a 15-minute smart city, right? Why do you think, regardless of whether it was done on purpose or was done by accident, it doesn't matter. They'll take advantage of the situation and they'll make sure that, they can set up a structure for people. Oh, that's right, you're homeless. Now you have to live in a pod. What's that? You're hungry? I guess now you have to eat bugs.
Yeah, it does. I want to talk about the video that CNN posted that Milkman and I were talking about a couple of days ago. Before I get to that, make sure to follow on YouTube where y'all are watching in the comment section. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure to follow the Barracks on Twitter. We just passed 100 followers on Twitter, one of which is Chris Morlock. Chris Morlock follows the Barracks on Twitter.
Hey, we made it.
Woo!
We made it. Started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Chris Morlock is a real one. Shout out, Chris Morlock.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you're talking about the shock doctrine, right? That's what this
Yeah.
video is. Yeah, we were talking about the shock doctrine. In the shock doctrine, Naomi Klein writes about how after that tsunami in Indonesia, I think, or maybe it was the Philippines, they
there was a number of case studies: the tsunami in Indonesia, in Hurricane Katrina, the fall of the USSR, and the installation of.
But the tsunami and the
Yeltsin.
hurricane are very relevant because it was like people came in, these developers came in, and like it was like indigenous fishing communities that didn't want to sell, very similar to Lahaina, and these big developers came in after the tsunami and bought up all the land and turned it into like resorts so they could start turning a profit. And it seems to me like you could wait around for a tsunami, or maybe, you're going to get impatient and these people already think they're gods. So
maybe
how hard would it be?
Maybe a couple of the levees in New Orleans just have rigged explosives on them and
right, exactly.
Hurricane. Like there was no rigged explosions on the levees in New Orleans. That's racist to talk about.
You can get banned for that's denying a violent event, dude. You can get banned for that.
As we should make sure everyone knows that levees are safe and effective.
Levees, I have 100 levees around my house.
Lee Harvey Oswald did Hurricane Katrina. Acting alone.
In this house, you get a rainbow flag. Like in this house, we believe that Hurricane Katrina was done by Lee Harvey Oswald. We believe that we vote in this house. We vote every day.
Oh, I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make that. If it's slow day at work, I'm gonna make that.
Ivermectin is a horse pill.
Oh my god! All right, let's check out this video.
It's a little long, so we don't have to watch through all of it. But it made me question. Yeah, Naomi Klein's like again crying over disaster capitalism.
Well, she's a big climate changer now.
Or how and when they'll rebuild. There are also deep fears over the water that flows from the mountains to the sea and aquifers and keeps Maui alive.
There's been a great deal of water conflict on Maui for many years. It's important that we're honest about this. People have been fighting against the release of water to fight fires. I'll leave that to you to explore.
Okay, let's do it. And let's start with the American and European plantation owners who arrived in the mid 1800s to get rich growing sugar and over the generations diverted water from countless farms like this.
These stone walls were built by our ancestors 500 years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah. What people like our family and many other Native Hawaiian families all
Oh,
throughout Hawaii
impressive.
saw wherever plantations.
First of all, can we talk about how they just glanced over the fact that environmentalists said they shouldn't divert water?
I thought that
To
was
put out
a
the fires?
meme. I thought there's no way that was real.
And is it and CNN is now saying no, they're justified actually because of
Jesus.
slavery.
Jesus.
You don't want to burn to death. You're just like a slave owner.
It's so cynical. It's so cynical.
How dare you putting out the fires, burning you to death, bigot.
Plantation was is their water disappeared literally overnight. Water disappeared.
Like turning off a tap.
Yeah. Which is why, like our family, like many other families in Lahaina and elsewhere, they were forced to leave their ancestral land.
And maybe work for the same plantation owner
That
who took your water, right? But even after the US apologized in 93 for the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, and even as once lush landscapes turned flammable, it wasn't until farmers like Hokuau Pellegrino fought in court for over a decade that water rights.
Wait,
Hokua
wait,
Nupapuna
wait.
McMurray.
This guy's name is not Al Pellegrino. That's a meme.
His name is Al Pellegrino.
The water protector is named Al Pellegrino. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we have indigenous water protector, King Kamehameha McDonald.
We got ourselves
King
the
Poland
Hoban the Bada Charles.
What is? Can someone wait? Can he? Can someone explain this fucking water protector shit to me? Like, you know that shit falls from the sky, right? I don't get it.
To be clear, it is a huge problem for major corporations and for terrorist organizations like the drug cartels to illegally tap groundwater. And when you don't have groundwater, it affects it leads to desertification. Plants can't hydrate. It creates a lot of ecosystem death. It makes it so that rivers dry up, which means you can't source water for the tap. Which that's a real problem.
It's a real problem, but notice what their solution to that problem is. It's not, building water desalination plants across the coastline and building water pipelines from the east to the west coast, right? No, not at all. Instead, you have to use less water. You can't use water to protect yourself from a fire. You have to die in a fire. You have to die in a drought. You cannot raise cattle. You cannot raise horses. God forbid you were able to do anything with the water on your own land. No, we're actually going to make sure that you can't use any of the water and you die.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's the only way to not be like the old plantation slave owners is to put on a loincloth and live in the jungle. While
convenient, isn't it?
While the guy in the bomber shades goes back to his penthouse and drinks sparkling water out of a glass bottle
and relaxes in his jacuzzi.
Yeah,
drinks some Pellegrino, yeah.
Drinks some Pellegrino. So yeah, we let's keep watching the video because there's also some more there's just so much to unpack here for this climate crying, this emotional appeal.
Were returned.
And even in our
it's not emotional enough that people burn to death. You need to feel bad for King Kamehameha Wazowski.
Because freshwater feeds those nearshore fishes and grows the seaweed, the limu, for the small fry, for our turtles and other, important fishes. That's all coming back now that the waters are
not water going into people's sinks or into their showers to be able to wash their laundry for the fucking turtles, for the fucking fish.
It's more matriarchy.
More
The
matriarchy.
poor baby
What?
turtles.
But think about the
turtles.
There's so much to
Yeah.
this because it gets to disaster. I can't get past how much I hate this environmental bullshit because there's more to the video. I really need to get past like my vitriol, but it's so hard. This guy has a fucking man bun, and I want to punch him. He's
Keep it.
Then came the fire and written complaints from the powerful West Maui Land Company, insinuating that firefighting efforts were hampered because a single Hawaiian farmer couldn't be reached for permission to divert extra water.
In this particular case, it absolutely would not have made any difference. You have to understand that the West Maui Land Company, Launiopoko Irrigation Company's system is not tied whatsoever to the Maui Fire Department hydrant system. And helicopters weren't able to even fly anyway at that point. So, to even insinuate that that could have made any difference is just a complete farce.
But with an emergency declaration,
Wait, I want to
Governor Green
just
has
mention that they're talking about the fires, but they're in front of this like lush green landscape. And like these are the subtle kind of things that CNN does. Like they're talking about fires, but it doesn't look like they're talking about fires. It looks like everything's fine, And so the fire becomes sort of an abstraction because we're in front of this beautiful green landscape. And so subconsciously you're thinking like, oh, it's like Maui, it's fine. Why aren't you in front of the burned out cars and like the burned down buildings? You're talking about the fire that happened, right? These are just the little subtle tricks they play. I mean, I don't even know who takes CNN seriously anymore, but
and those people who want to be fed all of the details and all of their opinions.
well, my mother does, which is upsetting, but
yeah,
rolled back Lahaina's water designation and told the New York Times that we tipped too far towards water rights for nature and natives.
75% of the water resource in Lahaina is controlled by private entities. Only 25% is controlled by the county government.
It's one big reason Lahaina community leaders gathered the media on Friday to call out the governor.
My hope is that the community had the input to build back how we see fit for our community.
Okay, can I just pause the video and ask an obvious question? It's an island, right?
Correct.
yeah.
You do realize, like everyone does realize, the entire island is surrounded by this thing called water. Why aren't they just using the ocean water to put out the fire? Like,
I think it's probably a reason, but that does kind of make sense.
like, I mean, like you can't tell me the salt feeds the fire, right? Because that's the only reason I can think of. It's not like you're going to run out of ocean water. There's more ocean water than there's fresh water in the world. So, like, if water is such a big concern for y'all, use the ocean.
I don't have an answer for you. I feel like there must be one, but I don't have it.
And it just and you get the gist. There's a lot to, and at this point, it's speculation of how this could be used, other than the censorship that we're going to be experiencing already. I mean, it's telling that they are using like this indigenous water rights argument, which they always use when they want to stop industrial growth, when they want people to use less energy, when they want to use less oil consumption, when they want you to have less water in your residencies. Because they talk about like, oh yeah, this was first when Hawaii was annexed by the United States, and like all of these policies of like these land back policies are just going to make this problem worse. Because yes, finance monopolies buying up all the land and sequestering all the resources is bad. But having the land just bought on the cheap after these natural disasters, that is part was where the clip gets the phrase disaster capitalism, which was a phrase coined by Naomi Klein for her book Disaster Capitalism. So they're taking it from Naomi Klein's book, but it's all Naomi Klein writes all about like climate emergencies and and how we need to stop global warming. And I realized very late in life, I read this book like 3 years ago, and I enjoyed it at the time, just being like, oh yeah, of course, it makes sense that capitalism is going to use these emergencies to manufacture a way to sell you the solution to a problem it solved. But I realized way too late that her solutions and the solutions of people like in this video are not industrial solutions, not creating a pipeline that pumps like filters seawater or being able to industrialize your way out of these problems. It's to burn everything to the ground and leave the land fallow for decades and just move the people elsewhere, force them out, make them homeless, because then you use less resources that way. It's to deindustrialize, and that which is the purest form of capitalism. It's to replace industrial capitalism with pure finance monopoly that sits on top of this feudal system, and which is the purest form of capitalism. Like finance monopoly, like is always the ruling class's instinct, because it is easier to print money than it is to manufacture large factories. And if you manufacture large factories, that gives the working class leverage over you every single time, because there's more of us than them, and we can outcompete them in labor and in production, but we can't compete with them in terms of printing money.
You know what I think this shit is with these like water protectors and stuff? It's the fucking hippies, dude. It's fucking hippies, boomers, who are now in power and are trying to reconcile this like toothless, anti-establishment, radical, free love, let's do LSD and have group sex and fight the man shit with the fact that they're now in power and like running the show. And like, fuck these hippies, dude. Nixon was right about the hippies. I'm a Red Foreman communist. I'm over these goddamn hippies.
And it's
trying
mostly
to like paint as radical, just because even at the time, all that LSD they were doing was coming from the CIA, and all these artists were like coming from Laurel Canyon. So it's been from the beginning this like contradiction between we're the radical, like save the earth, save the whales, water protectors, and also we're gonna buy all your land and build fucking Disney resorts.
And
like,
we're going to convince 0.1% of the Hawaiian population to secede and become their own sovereign indigenous nation.
Right. Oh, that's the same thing.
But that was another implication in the video is that Hawaiians should gain their independence back from the Union, which is more of that hippie shit, which is really just Confederate shit. Like
it's the same old stuff, the same old game. Oh, the Hawaii needs to be independent. The natives need to be independent. We have to save the native tribes. Oh, the Black Belt should be independent. Appalachia should be independent. Texas should be independent. California should be independent. Everything should be broken up and balkanized into a smaller version of itself. And the same thing goes with Russia and China very conveniently. It's very odd how the people who seem to be aligned with this green eco-fascist movement, the EFF, all seem to be totally in line with those who are pushing for all these sovereignty movements, all this balkanization of the United States, China, and Russia.
And it all goes back to and even before the Holocaust, but I bring it up because to bring it back to the subject of the video, like the headliner of Elon Musk's new Twitter terms of service about defining abuse, like the post that got removed and the account that's under threat of being banned was posting about Holocaust denial, which again, like the Holocaust happened. We can we can pretty much. I think we're all in agreement here on this channel. I think we're all in agreement in the chat. But I'm gonna I don't know what you're gonna say.
I don't know
what you're gonna say, Milkman. We're gonna skip over that.
And then we'll skip over that.
Text me on Telegram.
Yeah, we are on YouTube.
What?
We are on YouTube.
Yeah. My point being that the conclusion that liberals have taken after an atrocity like the Holocaust is not that we just witnessed an evil use for industrialization, like the industrial slaughter of human beings, but we should still keep like the modern industry, and we should use it in a way that the Soviets are doing, which is to give the working class people the means of self-sovereignty. We should expand the population. We should increase factories and industry. We should build up more a modern industry. Their conclusions, the liberal conclusion, which is in opposition to the Soviet conclusion, was that industrialization will always lead to is inherently a Holocaust. It's a Holocaust of nature. It's a Holocaust of the human soul. It's always
think about Lady Gaia. We have to think about Lady Gaia. Oh my God! Do not kill Lady Gaia. It's a genocide. Oh, Lady Gaia.
I need to clarify. Lady Gaga's a hardcore Satanist, by the way. But I need to.
No, Lady Gaia, not Lady Gaga.
Oh, okay. I need to clarify. I'm not saying the Holocaust didn't happen. I would never say that. But nobody cared about the Holocaust like in the 50s, which was when you think people would care the most. But nobody gave a shit up until 1967, up until Israel had its war against like Egypt and Lebanon, and the imperialists were like, "Oh wow, these motherfuckers are like actually doing shit out there," and they became allies. And that's when suddenly the Holocaust became this like ideological shibboleth. So there's like the Holocaust, the historical event, and then there's like the capital H Holocaust, which is this ideological, unquestionable like core that everyone gets traumatized by when they're like 12 years old in school.
Which yeah, in terms of the actual like doing a disservice to the memory of the people who died in
absolutely
this event, like turning it into your ideological weapon to justify impoverishing 90% of the planet to abolish industrialization, industrial machines, modern technology, and then condemn billions of people to a lifetime of enslavement and misery. That does a disservice to the people who died in the Shoah, straight up.
Oh, what really does a disservice is the people. I mean, a lot of these Holocaust survivors, quote unquote Holocaust survivors, because you're not allowed to question it. Like fucking Elie Wiesel is like a fucking bastard. He's out here cheering on the invasion of Iraq. Like during the Bush administration, Elie Wiesel was out there saying we have to invade Iraq because Saddam Hussein is Hitler. And you can't question him, right? Because everyone read Night when they were like 13, 14 years old in high school. So, it's Elie Wiesel, so we have to go invade Iraq. And then how many fucking Iraqis died? How many millions of Iraqis got killed in that war? So fuck that guy. Fuck Elie Wiesel. There was that guy who wrote the Painted Bird or whatever, which was like completely exposed as a fraud. I mean, I don't know. We could do a whole stream about this probably, but that's a risky topic.
Well, it's the same thing as they do with, Russia and Putin. Russia is the next Nazi Germany. Putin is Putler, right? It's the same bullshit. As soon as the United States makes an enemy, oddly enough, they use the Zionist line calling everyone Hitler. That's what I mean. Hell, let's be real with ourselves here. What are we called half the time? We're called Red Browns. We're called Nazis. We're called fascists. Why? Because we actually stand against the U.S. imperialist regime. That's why we get called Red Browns. That's why we get called Nazis. It has nothing to do with what we believe in. If we believe everything we believed, they believed in, but happen to disagree with them on one point, I guarantee it, they'd still call us fascists. They'd still call us Red Browns. They'd still call us Nazis. Why? Because that is the ideology that they cling to. It's the same Zionist ideology they cling to that the imperialist system clings to.
You must not go against the Twitter censorship. You must love the Mother Earth. You must live in the jungle with the loincloth and drink water out of a dirty puddle. This is the way of the Aryan people.
999! We will not allow you to live a life of decency. You will live in the pot. You will eat the bug. You will be under our domain. And if you try to resist, then you will be suicided.
Yeah, Schwab is a Nazi. I mean, people call him. Yeah,
his dad made flamethrowers for the Nazis.
Yep, he made flamethrowers for the Nazis, and people call him Jewish because they're retards who are incapable of interpreting the world around them and want to make it simple. But anyway, what it is like, I mean, it's like psychic manipulation because everybody gets traumatized by like some Holocaust documentary when they're in like 7th or 8th grade about people being turned into soap, and then they grow up. And every time it's time for a war, it's, oh, this guy's Hitler. Oh, there's a Holocaust happening. It's a Uyghur genocide. It's a Kurdish genocide. And everyone who wants to do diplomacy, they're Neville Chamberlain. Tulsi goes and meets with Assad. She's being Neville Chamberlain. Someone says they want to. It's the same thing over and over again. Like, how many times are we going to go kick the football like Charlie Brown?
Yeah, it all boils down. It always boils down to the realization that the people need to appropriate industry for themselves and not allow the private monopolies to control them. Like, that's why we're seeing this pop up again. In the case of the Holocaust, that was the conclusion that came out of it. That liberals came out with, and that's why Elon Musk is banning that sort of conversation on Twitter, is because like they don't want the conversation to shift to right, and we should use industry not in this evil genocidal way, but in a way that actually benefits us. And you see the same thing happening in Lahaina, just like, we're making the connection that that the government is weirdly involved in both the Lahaina fires, the worst fire in American history, and the worst shooting in American history. And we should still keep our guns and we should still keep our land, but we're just going to use them to uplift our own communities and not let BlackRock buy them up.
Well, what the most disgusting thing is that all these people who are constantly calling everyone Hitler and calling everything the Holocaust and calling everyone Neville Chamberlain, they recruited the fucking Nazis. They recruited the Nazis with Operation Paperclip into the CIA and NASA, and they recruited the Nazis into NATO, and they've been buddies with the Nazis ever since. Operation Gladio, they were funding Nazis all over Europe, which that's what this Las Vegas Lahaina shit really is, by the way. It's domestic gladio. It's a strategy of tension. And
we all know how buddy the U.S. government has been with the Azov Battalion in the right sector in Ukraine as well, right?
Yeah.
And anon with us, the few Nazis that happen to exist in Taiwan, we happen to be funding them when there was a bunch of protests going on in Taiwan. Same thing in Hong Kong with the Umbrella Movement. We just happen to support all the Nazis, no matter where they are, even when being a Nazi doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and
Chinese Nazis. What
the
the fuck
people
is that?
the people who think they're being like these super anti-establishment badasses by identifying as Nazis, you're an idiot. We are in the Fourth Reich. NATO is the Fourth Reich. Okay. The Project for a New American Century is the 1,000-Year Reich. It's the same thing. It's the same people. The Hitler was funded by Prescott Bush, by the Harrimans, by the Bank of England, and those are the same people. It's the Nazis won World War II because the real Nazis were the people who funded Hitler, and they came out on top. And that's
they still have the same strategy. They still have the same strategy for Russia, which is just balkanize it into 50 different smaller ethnic.
This is world, dude. The
states.
Ukraine shit is just World War II redux. It's World War II again. It's the same country. The Operation Barbarossa went through Ukraine, and we're doing it again. Nothing has changed. The same people are in power, and they're trying to do the same shit. They're trying to invade Russia through Ukraine. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is the Soviet Union fell.
History moves in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But I want to
Sorry,
hear
I'm
from you
getting
in the.
worked up.
I want to hear from you in the comments. Why the
Yeah.
fuck aren't you leaving more comments in the chat? Because we want to hear from you. Democracy isn't a fucking choice, you pussy. You are forced into democracy.
Yeah, chatting is anti-democratic. Reading chat is anti-democracy. We should just pick a random Zoomer and I don't know. I don't know.
Ron Swanson, Stalinist, you have been chosen at random in the barracks lottery to become the new shadow president, the new black pope of the people's deep state.
You run the street.
Ron
now,
Swanson, if you do not take this, you will be forced to work. Work. Millions will work.
Aaron Zavarnia, you have been chosen at random from the barracks lottery to be the people's new Minister of Defense. You will be overseeing 10,000 super soldiers and a barrage of planes and tanks. At random, you are now responsible for learning to conduct international warfare and national security. Congratulations, you son of a gun.
And we won't give you any resources to do this. Good luck.
Like, sorry, you'll have to pick at random who's going to fund you.
I kind of like. I gotta say, I kind of like. I kind of like just we're putting it in God's hands. Jesus, take the wheel. We're picking the president at random. We're throwing a goddamn dart. And
Jesus, take the wheel.
Liberals
I
just are so mind blown.
Guys are all bad, you know. Trump is a self-help guy.
I mean, their minds are just blown that even considering the possibility that Marxism, Leninism, that democratic centralism as designed by Lenin is more democratic than liberal democracy. Like, God forbid you should think about how democracy should be in tension with, like, authority.
Right. It's because when they say democracy, they mean us in control, and they're not in control of the communists, so it's not democracy. And they can't understand that. These goddamn hippie imperialists.
Well, this is what you're going to need to do, Aaron. You're going to have to get a bunch of money from somewhere. I don't know. You got to figure it out. Maybe you'll appoint your own funder. I have no idea. And then you get the money, and then you have to build all the factories, and then you have to build all the weapons, and then you have to find a way to recruit soldiers, and then we will have our people's army.
Char Darling, you have been chosen at random from the barracks lottery to be the new Minister of Finances. It is your first order of business to fund the Minister of fucking Defense. Get off your ass. You've been chosen.
All the dead bodies floating in rivers by Yami Park. Yeah, it's very boner socialist figure, isn't she? Because they tried with a bunch of like random guys, and then finally they got this woman, gave her fake tits and a bunch of plastic surgery, and it's like, oh, now people will listen to her fucking stories.
The thing is, like, who thinks that blow up doll is attractive? Like
me.
Like I'm not. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say me, Milkman? You were supposed to be against the boner socialists, not join them.
I put Milkman in timeout. He's in timeout to think about what he's done. This is part of our principles of unity. If horny posting gets you banned, no exceptions. 5 years in Siberia. Sorry, Milkman. 5 years in Siberia. Pack your bags.
You were supposed to be the chosen one. You weren't supposed to join them.
You made Yankee cry. I didn't kick him out this time. For everyone watching in the chat, I didn't kick out the Milkman that time.
I think Milk is just like devastated. He's just like, what have I done? He's just like, I must hide my shame.
He sent me a private message. Just saying, I'm crying cryptically. I'm crying before hopping out. I didn't kick him out that time. He just posted, I'm crying in the chat.
Okay, so
He's not.
for any of our viewers that are not familiar, Milkman is the man who coined the term boner socialism. This is why this is so funny.
I'm sorry. I repent. I repent.
Oh, God,
we gotta end the stream. We gotta end the stream.
What? No. We got to talk about why you think Yamini Park, the blow up doll, is attractive.
I can't. Well, what the heart wants, what the heart wants. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, the K-pop MK Ultra.
They got me. I'm not
Yeah.
immune. I'm not. I am but a man.
MK pop.
I can fix her, Yankee.
I don't think you can. I do not think you can fix Yamini
I
Park.
can fix her.
No one can fix her. Kim
We'll
Jong Un
bring-
himself
Me and
could not
Yami
fix
will
that
bring
woman.
Juche to North America.
This is a turn I was not expecting tonight. I'm gonna be real with you. Oh
Okay.
my God.
Yeah. So yeah, we can't end the stream now. We need to have a struggle section.
No, I can't. have
In
this
the chat,
struggle session.
everyone in the chat, post your harshest criticisms against the Milkman for horny posting. Everyone watching on Twitter, a 6-month struggle session.
I'm telling you, at the end of this stream, I'm going to be making a Star Wars reference as a meme here. That you're just supposed to be fight the dark side, not join them.
Do what I say, not what I do. That's always been my position. That's always been my position. I'm not going to pretend I'm leading by example here.
Milkman's gonna be next stream, led by Milkman. Fuck, Mary, kill Yeonmi Park, AOC, and Meghan Markle.
Oh my
Don't make
God.
me answer that. I'm not answering that. I plead the fifth.
Fuck, Mary, kill Nikki Haley, Tulsi Gabbard, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. For all you conservatives out there looking for a new waifu,
That was actually
God.
a pretty good one, but generate game. We're not playing.
Oh my God.
I can't lie. What do you want from me? I cannot tell a lie.
Yeah,
I'm like George Washington.
I'll say this much. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. Milkman's a degenerate. He was hiding all along. Now we know that Milkman is the real boner socialist.
We're all degenerate to some degree.
Yeah, it's copyrighted. It's copyrighted. That is a good note to end on. The new copyrighted music on the barracks here. That's going to be our new intro music for all of our clips moving forward. You heard it here first, folks. With that, we're going to be wrapping up this stream. Yo, we had at one point 16 people up in this live. I appreciate everyone watching right now. I appreciate you in the future if you're watching. Go and make sure to share the stream wherever it is you're watching it. Leave a comment. Like it. Because we here are battling censorship as a tiny channel that we are. So we need you to get the word out there. And with that being said, Milkman, as we wrap it up, any last words before we condemn you to Siberia?
No, have mercy.
No, you read the principles of unity. No horny posting.
First offense.
First offense is the worst offense. Death penalty immediately.
Oh, Milk.
Okay. Take us home, Yankee.
Yankee Tanky. Any last words for the people as they prepare their cabbages to throw at Milkman, who will be kept in the stocks for 3 days?
Ladies and gentlemen, we at the barracks will not allow the censorship to bring us down. We shall build the media apparatus. We are the media apparatus, and you, the people, shall fight with us with the people's information war.
There you have it, folks. Clip it, wrap it up, put a bow on it. You just got the lowdown from the Yankee Tanky. You got your orders. Go follow them. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Barracks, this non-Euclidean intelligence network, everywhere where streaming is made possible. That's all we got. We're out.